Hi, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. I'm here with Gary Renard. We are here to do a little bit of an advance, what we call promotion, if that's the appropriate word to use, for the radio program tomorrow night. As I'm doing this right now, it's May 3rd. We're talking about the May 4th program. And I've sent the newsletter out to you saying Gary's going to be my guest on the program tomorrow night on May 4th. Now, you folks have heard many, many times I've said, hey, Disappearance of the Universe is my most absolute favorite book. No book has touched my life more than that one. In fact, I could almost say, Gary, I might be one of those groupies for you because I've read this book 8 times. And I thought, who in their conscious mind would even begin to do that? But it's because it touches me so deeply. Every time I go through that, it's like I'm coming back fresh. I'm coming back new. And it's touching me on a level that I've never experienced it anywhere else before. And Gary, you know that basically what you say in some ways in that book, you're just kind of the scribe because you're carrying on a conversation with your 2 guides, the Ascended Masters, Arten and Persa. But at the very central core of what Arten and Persa and you discuss and talk about is this whole concept that's called duality consciousness, or the separation that we are here as human beings and our need to undo that. So on the radio program tomorrow night, that's going to be one of the primary things that we're going to focus on. And I'll add some other perspectives to that because it's a 2-hour program. But here we just want to do kind of a short 3 to 5 minute video. So Gary, it's going to be a pleasure to have you with us tomorrow night. What are some of the things you'd like to share and share with the folks before we get there?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because we're going to talk about undoing the ego, which is a function of separation. So A Course in Miracles, which my teachers really get into in the books, it says very clearly that salvation is undoing. And that's a great approach because there are like 2 versions of you. You've got the real you, which is this perfect spirit, absolute oneness. Then you have the false you, which we experience, which is going along with linear time and space and separation. And what we need to do to experience the real self is to undo the false self. And that's really a brilliant approach because if you could do that, if you could completely undo your ego, then the real you would be all that's left. And you don't have to do anything about the real you. You know, the real you is already perfect. You know, the real you is already exactly the same as your source, which is God. And that is a gift that was given to you. You don't have to earn it. All you have to do is learn how to experience it. And you experience it by undoing the interference to it. So that's the basic approach. The Course would call it removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. But my teachers in A Course in Miracles, you know, what my teachers gave me is a very big teaching. You know, it's talking about your natural inheritance being nothing less than the kingdom of heaven. So, you know, it's a pretty big thing. It's talking about undoing any trace of separation or duality or ultimately even consciousness, because even though we like to think of our consciousness as being very spiritual and being very important, the truth is that consciousness by definition is an ego device because it's based on separation. In order to have consciousness, you have to have something else to be conscious of. You know, it's like you have to have a subject and an object. You have to have that duality thing going on in order to be conscious of something else. And what we're talking about ultimately is something bigger. The Course would call it awareness, which is awareness of all of it, that perfect oneness that is reality. So it's a big teaching. It's very interesting. And the irony is that even though it's what I would call real spirituality, what we're going to be talking about tomorrow night, as opposed to, say, the self-help movement, the irony is that you can end up having a better life and having tremendous abundance by undoing the ego. Because as you do that, you have more access to spirit, which means that you have more access to the Holy Spirit, which means that you can receive the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And the Holy Spirit can guide you through life and help you with genius level ideas that you never would have had if you were kind of like stuck in the ego, because the ego is kind of like a barrier. It's kind of like interference to this higher message of the Holy Spirit. And as you go along, hopefully living a normal life, you can just look at it differently. Look at it with the Holy Spirit, undo the ego, and receive the guidance of the Holy Spirit, which opens up a whole new realm of possibility for you. So you could say it this way: the self-help movement is kind of like getting what you want. It's kind of like getting stuff, kind of like, maybe attracting things to you that are outside of you, or creating abundance. And that's not the approach of real spirituality. Real spirituality would say, look, you're not going to be happy by going after the abundance. You're going to be happy by learning how to be happy and peaceful, regardless of what happens, in spite of whether or not you get what you want, because that's real power. That kind of power is not dependent on circumstances. It's not dependent on the ego script. But at the same time, you may find yourself being guided to great abundance, because as you undo that idea of separation, what happens is you realize that a sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. And if you could correct that one real lack, which is the only lack, then you would never feel lack. You would always feel abundant. You would always feel like you were taken care of. I've met millionaires who are coming from a place of scarcity because they don't realize that they're looking for their fulfillment in the wrong place. But it's actually that sense of separation that is the problem. It makes you feel scarce. It makes you feel like something is missing, because something is missing, and that's God.
Yeah.
And the irony is that by undoing the ego and going home to God, at the same time, you become open to this kind of guidance that can lead you to success and abundance, but it happens in a more natural way, rather than trying to make something that you don't even know whether it's the right thing for you or not. But the Holy Spirit does know what is the right thing for you, because the Holy Spirit can see everything that ever happened and knows what's best for you, and you might not necessarily even know what's best for you.
That's interesting. Well, we're going to continue this discussion tomorrow night. And then also tomorrow, your wife, Cindy, is going to be with us for part of the program. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Cindy has turned into quite a teacher of the course. She does a lot of my workshops with me. She was with me this year in California, England, Virginia, and she's coming to Sedona.
Right.
With us for our workshop on the 14th.
And in fact, I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the video, but you are coming here in a week and a half on Saturday, September 14th. You and Cindy are going to be here in Sedona for a one-day workshop. I have the wonderful pleasure of hosting both of you, and I'm very thankful for that. And folks, if you want to know anything about it, you just go to my website, thesedonaconnection.com. On there is the information page, the registration page. We still have plenty of seats available. We'd love to have you come to Sedona and, be with Gary and Cindy here for the day. And we're going to be doing that at the Unity Church here in Sedona, and that's a wonderful facility. And I'm so biased because Sedona is such a wonderful place. And
it is.
It is. It's one of those wonderful, very magical places to come and visit. So.
Yeah, I've only been there a few times, but it really is amazing. It's a wonderful place. And we're going to get pretty deep in the workshop. We're going to get into exactly, how to do the kinds of mental thought processes that result in undoing the ego, undoing that duality that we thought was real, but which it turns out isn't real at all. And undoing that illusion that was made by the ego, and going home to where we belong. So it's going to be something that people can take with them and use after the workshop is over. And I think they're going to like it.
Well, Gary, thank you very much. I had said this was going to be about a 3 to 5 minute intro, but I like to talk and you like to talk, and we're already at almost 10 minutes. So, but 2 hours on the radio program tomorrow night, and you're going to be with us here in Sedona on May 14th. And I know I'll have you back because I think you and I could be on the radio program and we could carry on these discussions for some time. And I'm going to share a little bit tomorrow night how there is another group and organization that's so parallel and reflecting what you're saying in your books that comes out of the teaching from you and Art and Persa, because there were very few people out there that were teaching the concept of duality conscious and the separation, and it's now starting to spread as well.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. Love you, Gary.
Thanks, Dave. Love you too.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, folks. Okay. Bye-bye.